Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and to a new video. We have something a little bit different to my usual vlogs today, but this is a vlog. I'm going to be reading Dune by Frank Herbert. A little bit of backstory to why I'm doing this video. I recently watched the new movie with good old Timothy right here, and I am in love with that movie. I watched it twice in 2 days. It was amazing. I thought it was one of the best movies ever made. The music, the sound, the graphics, like the actual shots. Wow, how that movie is going to win every award, I'm sure. And that movie is set on like book 1 of 3 in this Dune book. I know there's multiple books, but I believe this is just the main one. I own the original copies. Oh, this one is published in 1978, which I think is really, really cool. I've had all the books on my shelves for a while. I have my granddad's copies, and it was one of his favorite books, so I've actually owned the books for ages with no intention of reading them. But when I saw this movie, oh, wow. However, I was very confused by the movie. I'm not quite sure what the hell happened, and I've watched it twice. I just don't understand what it's about. I don't know why they're blue. I don't get it. Like the blue eyes, I don't get any of it. They kind of explained it very basic. I think it's a movie for the book fans, and I appreciate that as a book lover. I appreciate films that do that. I just need a bit more explanation. So I'm going to be reading the actual book. This is going to be a spoiler-filled vlog, so if you are at all interested in reading this book and you haven't yet, I would probably click off if you don't like spoilers, and come back at a future date. Right now I'm just going to be, I don't feel like I can do this vlog without fully spoiling everything. I hope it's as amazing as the movie was. It probably won't be for me, I'm going to admit, but I do want to get all that information out of it that I did not get out of the movie. I feel like this is just something that deserves my time and attention because everybody loves this. A little disclaimer to start by saying I'm not a science fiction gal, as you can see behind me. There is only one science fiction book on this shelf, and that is that one. And it is nowhere near anything like this. So this is going to be a fun journey. I know that there are a lot of fans of this series, and I'm very dubious about doing this video in case some of the fans get a little bit angry at me if I don't interpret something well. Please don't. Just explain it to me down below, maybe. I want to appreciate this work with you guys, but I also do not want to be targeted or harassed, okay? So let's just take this video for what it is, pure entertainment, okay? I'm gonna go start this right now and get a couple of pages read, or at least as many as I can, and I will get back to you when I have an update. Okay, I'm stopping to make some lunch, but I have read a measly 30 pages of this book. I'm so confused. It has taken me an unbelievable amount of time to get to here. Unbelievable amount of time. Bearing in mind that my average is about 100 to 150 pages an hour. We're looking about over an hour to read 30 pages. Also, I need someone to tell me, is there no chapters? Is the chapter header just the quote that comes from A Child's History of the Muad'Dib? And are these, I'm guessing so because it sounds like it, is this a book by the Princess Urulan? Is that a book that was written about Paul from the future that we're just seeing? Because it seems to be giving us flash forwards, like, obviously I know his dad dies from the movie, but it seems to have already been mentioned in the book. And I'm like, wow, really, that quick? My favourite scene in the movie is when he is with the Reverend, is that her name? And he gets his hand put in the box. It makes me cry. I feel like the acting is so good and the shot is so good. And I also absolutely loved the scene in here. I feel like it was done so well. I just didn't expect for that to be the first scene we saw. I was kind of taken a bit by surprise, but I really enjoyed it. I don't know why I'm bending down to do such an awkward angle. I could have just got my tripod, but no. So yeah, I'm going to stop for lunch, but hopefully I'm going to read some more today. This is fascinating to me right now, but I have not learned much more than I had originally known. But I have been intrigued by the portrayal of the Reverend character. She's very different to how she is portrayed in the movie. Okay, this is a completely random clip, but I really just want to point out the sentence that I just heard that I'm like obsessed with. So Paul is talking to Howard. He's talking about what the Reverend, or whatever her name was, said to him, I've been saying that right, because you're going to be so mad. Reverend Mother, yeah. What she said about, and she asked, what is it to rule? And he said, one that commands. And she said, this is the sentence that I love. She said, a ruler must learn to persuade and not to compel. She said, he must lay the best coffee hearth to attract the finest men. I don't know why I love that, but I like really do. Like that line, wow, powerful, you know? Again, I've been reading for about 20 minutes, right? And I've read 4 pages. They're really dense. There's a lot of names that I'm trying to match up. There's a lot of pages and sentences and paragraphs that I'm rereading. I think the writing right now, I'm not going to say beautiful because it's not. It's more of a gritty writing style, but it's one that I think is very powerful in some of the sentences I'm hearing. And I think every sentence is loaded with power and foreshadowing. Obviously, knowing what happens, well, somewhat, I can see the foreshadowing, and I think it's really, really impressive. But also a lot of stuff that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So obviously post first movie in book 2 and 3, I feel like there's a lot that I have not learned yet. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I really like Howard. I'm saying that wrong, I'm sure. I really like his character, and I also really like Paul. I feel like they're really showing his naivety as the next in line to rule. He hasn't actually learnt a lot about it, and also showing, even though he's being taught by his mother Jessica, the way of, I can't remember what it's called, you know, the way of the people under the Reverend Mother, those people. He's still showing naivety in that sense as well. It's showing that he just is very much young and has a lot to learn, and I'm really enjoying that part of it, because I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of character growth for the future. It is another day and I'm back reading Dune. I'm not far again, I'm literally on page 58, so I've been reading for a little bit. But I just want to say something, like, in terms of, I'm not trying to compare this to the movie at all. Like, I know I've talked about the movie a lot, it's just what I know. But I do find that the characters are so much more unlikable in this book version that I just find myself frustrated. Like, Paul I still really enjoy. I feel like the dad is being very, I don't know, I think it's probably the misogyny that is within the book, which is expected from the time period it's written by a man. It's kind of in a lot of fantasy like that, especially old fantasy. But I think the misogyny of the man treating his wife not very respectfully is not ideal. So we have gotten now to page 66. Now that we're seeing Yue talk to Jessica. He knows that she can tell when he's telling the truth or not, or can at least have a sense when she looks into his eyes that he's lying. I suppose most people have that intrinsic sense. So he is really cleverly coming up with ways to disguise it. So he called her Jessica, which is not what he should be calling her, because that is not the formal way to address her. And in return, she's then going to suspect his uneasiness is because of the fact that he has called her the wrong name. I'm finding that really, really interesting, and I'm intrigued to see more about this because I really want to know more about Dr. Yue's betrayal, and I love the fact he's told us straight away that that betrayal is coming. I'm very excited to see more of that. And he talked about how he knew his wife was dead. What's the reason for betraying this family if you know your wife is dead? Maybe I'm inferring it wrong and he doesn't know she's dead, but we all do. I don't know. It's weird knowing. The way it's written is very peculiar because you know things that they don't. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of an update. You're really high, but I can't bother to move you, so you're going to stay right there. I have made it to 138, so I'm again not very far, but it's taking a lot of mental capacity to understand everything in this book. And I finally found the glossary, so I'm starting to understand it more. I am at the part now where they are on Altrades. Oh no, that's the original planet. Oh. They are on... Oh god. Is it Arrakis? I'm so sorry. This is probably really painful to watch, isn't it? It's painful to read. I'm loving the book, but I'm having a terrible reading experience because I'm just not... I don't want to say clever enough, because it's not saying that if you can't understand this, you're not clever, but it's clever in a different way, and this is why I don't read sci-fi. I haven't got the comprehension that I would need for these books. However, I must say the story is phenomenal. The story is so in-depth. It's amazing to me that somebody was able to think up this world. I'm noticing that this book is incredibly male dominated, and they have changed that in the movie a little bit. So right now we've just seen Paul and the Duke go out into the dunes and witness the crawler get eaten by the sandworm, which I love the sandworms. They are my favourite thing about this world. I adore them with my whole heart. So it's really interesting to see more information on them and the nitty gritty of them, because we don't get all that information in the films. Not that I want to keep comparing the film, I don't, but I really enjoyed seeing the in-depth analysis of the worms. You see a lot about the worms, they're on book covers, you see them on posters, but truly they are a magnificent creature. I love that they are so hard to kill. I love that they dominate the place. You know, it feels like humanity isn't the lead in this book. Instead, they have something to fear, aka the sandworms, and I absolutely love that. I'm really hoping that they play a big role and that sandworms aren't just made into a mundane killer. I hope they become big obstacles within the story and the future books as well. I would really like that. The person who's taking them out on those trips, the name Kynes, I'm not sure you say it, Kynes, is a woman in the movie, so I didn't realise that it was going to be a man in the book, and it was quite a surprise to me, but it made me really think about how this is a male-dominated book. You know, Jessica so far is the only woman we've seen other than the helpers, you know, the staff of the place, again, which a lot of it is mostly dominated by men, other than the like cleaning help and housework help, which of course is just a repercussion of the time. But yeah, 138, loving the sandworms, really enjoying the story concepts. I think it's really, really clever. At the moment, the Duke is a very complex character for me. He is a lovely man, but it's actually said it. He becomes a different persona, you know. He's got his leader role and then he's got his fatherly role. But sometimes they do cross over. For example, when the crawler got eaten by the sandworm, he was so distraught by the people being killed that instead of the crawler, which Kynes was admiring about him. I also love that I'm literally in the middle of a chapter now where he comes to eat dinner and they say it's kind of a tradition to throw the water on the floor, pretend it is nothing. But he's just said that is a stupid tradition, put them outside and give every beggar a free glass of water. That just shows what a nice man that he is, but he still has this dark side to him that a leader needs, I suppose, to be able to rule. He needs to be ruthless, and I definitely see that in the Duke. But it's still so complex when you read about him. Oh, I just think this book is written so well. I just wish my reading experience was easier, but it's nothing on the book. I'm so enjoying it so far. But yeah, I'm going to keep reading now because I'm excited. I'm hoping to make it to page 200 today because I've been reading this for a long time and have not made any progress yet. So a minimum of 200 would be really nice today to make some decent progress. And then yeah, I will get back to you when I have more thoughts. Okay, so after a long time of sitting down and reading, I've just finished book 1 of 3 of Dune. Did you think I was going to say I finished Dune? So I'm on 217, so I've made a very decent chunk. This is the start of book 2 now, which is where my knowledge completely ends of the book because it's not in the movie, obviously. That's in a separate movie that will come out in the future. So if I was confused up to this point, I am in for a treat for the remainder of this book because I'm going to be very confused. However, I will say as the book 1 went on, I understood it more and more, and I think a lot of things clarified for me from my confusion earlier. I do want to say some of the characters, Jessica, wow. I love that she wasn't like this big player or part in the political system, and yet watching her in certain situations and scenarios just made me realise that she is a genius. For example, we see this scene where they're having a dinner party with somebody called the banker, the Cayenne guy, how have I forgotten his name already, Paul, the Duke, and some other people. And obviously the leader of this dinner party should be the Duke, and then the Duke leaves, so Paul should be the leader. And yet the whole time I was flabbergasted by Jessica's ability to read the room and read people and see their lies. Obviously I know that she's clever with this Bene Gesserit.
I can't do it. Sorry. I know she can do things like that, but it was still so impressive to see it from a leader's perspective. She came across to me as a leader. I thought it was just absolutely fascinating that she could pick up on things that Paul, the Duke, nobody was picking up on, and yet she was seeing it so clearly and stating it as a fact so clearly in her subconscious that we were just told, and I couldn't believe she'd picked up on these things and no one else had. And I think it showed us something that's so normal in everyday society back then and even now, where a woman is overlooked because she is a woman, whereas she was at that precise moment the cleverest in the room. And I feel blown away by her abilities when she is not even this main part in this political game. And I'm calling it a game because that's clearly what it is. I'm also really, really falling in love with Paul. I feel like his maturity levels are off the charts. You know, I had to Google at one point to remind myself how old he is, and he's 15 years old, and yet his maturity and intellect is that of an adult. For me, it's the way he carries himself as a leader. You know, again, at that dinner table party, he was brought in as a leader, and he showed himself as a leader. At one point, the Duke says, "You make the mistake of treating my son as a child," which in theory he should be. He is 15 and yet has the leadership abilities that his father has as a grown man. I feel as well that he is such a simple character. You know, Paul is simple. There's not a lot to him on the surface, and yet the more we go through this book, the more we are uncovering about him, and I feel like there's so much depth to him now that I didn't see originally, that I'm definitely seeing now, and I'm really excited to see more of now that obviously his father has passed and he is now going to be the new Duke. But I'm intrigued to see how that's going to happen while he's on the run. Is he going to take leadership by, you know, living with the femin? The words are still not my thing. I want to see how that's going to take him into his future now and what he's going to use those leadership skills for. The end is really emotional as well, seeing Leto die and the fact that Paul doesn't instantly mourn and he's like, no, I haven't got time to mourn yet. And that again shows his leadership abilities, but it's also so sad to see a 15-year-old have to take on these responsibilities, and not only the responsibility of becoming a Duke, but also these things that are put on him by being the new Al-Gaib. What is it called? The something Al-Gaib. He is now being expected to take on that role in order to migrate in with the femin. Sorry, butchering it. Another thing I'm a little bit confused on the name. Is it Duncan Idaho? In the movie, he is played by Jason Momoa, I think. A marvellous character, one of the best characters in there. And yet in this, maybe I interpreted it wrong, but it seemed he was a bad guy who abused women. So, why did we change that in the movie? I don't like that. I don't want that man in there. Can't we give him a nice character? I don't know. All seemed very confusing. It seemed a lot of men are against Jessica just because she is a woman. I am so excited to see where this goes from here. I know I'm going to be a lot more confused than I have been, and I've been mostly confused. But I'm so excited to see more. I think it's going to be a really good book from here on still. And we're going to see a very different dynamic, I think, now that we're going to be living more within the dunes than we have been. You know, we've seen a privileged life of no struggles to get water or anything like that, whereas now he's going to be. It also seemed that they were stuck on this world now because they had spice in the tent, and spice only kills you when you stop taking it. So it seems he is now stuck on this world forever. Or he died from the spice leaving his body, I think.
So I'm here to outro this video because I'm only doing part 1 now, and I will tell you why. I realised upon reading this, how far did we get? We obviously finished book 1, which is 217. And I came to the realisation I do like this book a lot, but I much prefer the films, like so much more. And so I would much rather learn what I'm about to learn in the movie, even if it's years away. Like, I just find it a much better experience. And since reading this, I've watched the movie so many more times, and I just can't help but love that more. So I'm not going to be finishing this until I watch the next movie. So I'm going to watch them as the movies come out, which is ridiculous because it's going to take me like 3 years to finish a book. No, more, 4 years to finish a book. But I think that's how I will prefer to do it. Maybe I'll change my mind. But as of right now, that is what I want to do. So I'm actually going to be finishing off this vlog here. You'll probably already know this by the title and the intro. I'll probably edit, but I just wanted to let you know why I came to this conclusion. But I really, really enjoyed this book, or book one of this book. I think I would give it like a 4 stars. I'm not going to rate it because I haven't finished the book. But from what I've read so far, I would rate it a 4 stars. I think it was enjoyable, but very confusing for my little brain. And even having watched the movie, I'm still confused. So I'm glad that I have read it. Glad that I have consumed it. But will be sticking to the movie first next time in order to understand it a little bit better. But I am really hoping that you enjoyed my deep dive into Dune. I feel like I learned a lot more, and I feel like being able to talk to you guys helped me clear up my brain a little bit when I was reading this, which is great. So thank you for that. Maybe when I do read part 2, I will come back and do another video if that is something you guys want. We'll see. It's going to be a long time away, so who knows. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.